obviously I'm very young. I've never been a head of strategy at this point. It's my first time ever. There was no one else. And I go to press it, and then my mouth just doesn't make any noise. It's like this. If I said I was gonna cut your head off if you were wrong, would you still say it was a 2-stop? I was like, yeah.
You were with Seb Vettel for his first ever win?
Yes, I was.
That's pretty crazy. What was that like? And what's he like?
Actually, no, I don't think many people know this.
However, at Silverstone, I was texting you, telling you how wet the track was.
Yeah, you did.
Were we any help?
It was actually useful, yeah. So I was the first ever British woman to work at Ferrari.
That's amazing.
Was it tough back then, when you were like a bit more of a minority? Ladies and gents, welcome back to Pitstop. It's the first episode, the first guest episode of season 3.
Very, very excited. Not only did we hit 90,000 subscribers today,
Yeah.
but the guest we have with us today, we've been trying to get on the show for a couple of years, haven't we?
We have indeed, yeah, and it's not Alan Titchmarsh. Someone a lot dearer to our heart than that.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ruth Buscombe!
Hey! Hello!
Hi.
If you were wondering what's going on here...
I think I worked it out, but you gonna explain?
Gardening leave!
Gardening leave.
Okay.
Where's my gloves?
I thought you were going to bring them with you.
Oh, darn it.
Okay, now we can do away with this shit.
Get rid of the plants!
Alright, enough of the gags. We got Ruth Buscombe on the pod.
Yeah, I can't
Let's
wait
go.
for this. This is a great one. We've wanted to do this for a while.
2 years we've been trying to get you, I think.
Well, good things come to those who wait.
There you go. There you
We
go.
have
And
been speaking for a while. We know you were listening to the pod over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'm teaching you all about Formula One and strategy.
yeah, I'd love to know actually what it's like to listen to a Pitstop podcast, because we don't listen to our pods.
You should probably do that.
Yeah, we don't even really review them. We just put them up.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are amazing. Some of them, could be better. But what else do you want?
No, I appreciate the honesty. I really do.
What was it you said the other day about the porpoising?
That
No,
was a
I don't
great
even want
one.
to go there.
That's gone very viral on YouTube.
It has actually.
Very, very viral
It
now.
did.
You're on 500,000 views, mate.
You actually messaged me about it.
Yeah, I couldn't stop laughing that you said that, Sky Sports had invented porpoising,
Yeah.
which is a great thing for them to have done. But yeah, no, it was
a
a aerodynamic phenomenon from the 1970s.
Wait, is it porpoising?
Yes,
Not
yeah.
porpoising.
Yeah, I mean, you can pronounce it whatever you like. It's like, the thing that looks a bit like a dolphin, the way that it goes through the water. It bounces.
Oh, okay.
That's what it's based
Like
on.
a manatee almost.
Manatees are a bit fatter and slower. I think more dolphin-y, more bouncy.
All right.
Yeah, so it's basically when we had ground effect cars in the 1970s. Because we've had these little skirts around them. They went super fast because they had more downforce, but they started bouncing up and down, and it's pretty bad. It's pretty dangerous, which is why they banned ground effect all the way up until last year when they brought it back.
Wow. There you go. Well, if I'm going to believe anyone, it's going to be you, because I feel like you know what you're talking about.
Well, I did do aerospace and aerothermal engineering at Cambridge, and I did a project on porpoising.
Oh, you actually did?
Yes. I actually worked with a couple of the designers that actually did design the cars back in the 1970s.
Oh, wow.
And I never used my aerodynamic degree ever until there was porpoising in Formula One, and I was so excited that I could finally crack out my really boring report that I'd done. Yeah.
You were at university yesterday, you said?
The wrong one. I was at Oxford yesterday,
Okay.
just doing a bit of a talk.
That's a big one. That's huge.
It's not as good as Cambridge, but
Right.
they're with Otmar, so yeah, it was lovely.
You and Otmar doing a little talk with it.
Yeah, talking to some of the students about kicking off the new season. Sorry, you guys are second best.
So is he also on gardening leave?
Yeah, we kind of got our gardening
gardening
gloves out together. Yeah.
Oh, we could have got you both on at the same time.
I think he's in Bahrain now, so
Is he?
he's going off and spending the weekend in the sunshine.
What, is he going to watch the F1 as a spectator?
I don't know. Go ask him.
I'll just text him.
I want to clear up what gardening leave actually is.
Right. So in Formula One, it's pretty normal that when a kind of senior member of staff moves from one team, when they hand the notice in and when they leave, they have like a buffer period. So all the information you have in your head about next year's car, you can't take and give to another team. So Lauren Mekis, who's the new team principal of Racing Bulls this year, he was at Ferrari 2 years ago. So you said goodbye to him in 2022. He does a year of gardening, so he can't have anything from Ferrari in his head when he goes to a competitor. So
it's a whole year. I thought it was like 6 months or something.
it depends. So the actual amount of time depends on like the detail of your contract, which is like a bit more boring, but yeah, basically it's fairly standard. So really the only people that don't have gardening leave are drivers, because obviously that would be really dull if, like, you know, Lewis changes team and we don't see him for 2025.
Are you not even allowed at the races then? Or are you like not allowed?
You can
in the
go
paddock?
as a guest, but you couldn't go like you know, work for another team basically.
Yeah, if that was me, I'd just be sending texts to whoever's at the team now, just being like, mate, come on, you need to do this instead. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe that's why you don't work in Formula 1.
Maybe you're right. However, at Silverstone, I was texting you, telling you how wet the track was.
Yeah, you do. So you were one of
Were we
my...
any help?
Which is...
It was actually useful.
Yeah, because she did. What did you do? You went out quali on...
Yeah, we did. We picked the right tyres. It was about 50-50.
Well done,
That's
Fabio.
what I said. I spent the last 2 years educating you as strategists.
And we pulled through.
Yeah, so lots of teams use rain spotters. Some of them are, you know...
I'm a rain spotter. I can stick that on my Instagram page.
Yeah, Formula 1 rain spotter.
Hinge bio.
As we know, we got Bahrain coming up. This pod's actually going out like 2 or 3 days before the race on Saturday.
So, yeah, race is Saturday. So it's Tuesday now. So we're going to be... is it Tuesday?
You're as bad as me. It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
And this is going out tonight. We're going to turn this episode round real quick.
It's Wednesday today.
So what would a strategist be doing today ahead of Bahrain race weekend?
So today, for most people, is media day. For people in Formula 1 teams, it's building the car and checking things day, which is a less glamorous name. So there's safety car test, where basically the safety car will dust it off and it will go round and round. And all the strategists will be checking that everything is like plugged back up after kind of like a long break or after you've taken out of sea freight. And you'll be coming up with your plans based on the latest forecast of how you want to use your tyre sets. Because tomorrow, P1, you're already kind of committing to what you want to do in the race 3 days later, because depending on the tyres you use in free practice, when they're gone, they're gone. So if you use one of your hards tomorrow, it's not going to be available for you in the race.
All right, so come free practice day. What's happening then?
We do some practice.
Wow.
So we have 2 different sessions on a normal race weekend, which is this one. There's an FP1, which is basically your race engineering session. It's where the race engineers get to play around with all their setup ideas they've had from the simulator, try a couple of things out. Normally you'll have one car that's an aero car that's testing a bunch of things on the aero, one that's the mechanical car that's testing like a mechanical change, because you don't have time to check them both, and then you put it all together to come up with your kind of best idea of what you want for qualifying in the race for P2. P2 at Bahrain is super, super, super important because it's the only evening session. So P1 and P3 are in the day, and qualifying and the race is in the evening. So P2 is your only time when you're on track at the same time. Therefore, you hope similar conditions.
Track's cooled down, cars are faster.
The sun is set. So that helps make it like similar. Also, just the climate of Bahrain. There's a wind called the Shamal, which is really strong during the day, and then it dies down in the evening. There's another one called a cows, but this week we have a Shamal race, which means that during the day in FP1 you'll hear the drivers complaining like, it's so dirty, it's so windy, man. And then it'll get to P2 and they'll just won't be talking about it anymore because the wind will drop down, and then in P3 they'll be like, oh my goodness, it's so windy, man, it's so dirty. And then in qualifying they won't talk about it anymore. By the time you get to the race, it depends on what the conditions have been as to how sandy it is when you get there.
And when are you doing your track walks? Is that way before practice?
Yeah, so you do a track walk on today or maybe the day before if you've already there, and depends on the track what you're trying to look at. A permanent circuit like Bahrain, you'd really only be looking for things that are changed. Given there was a test, the only thing that's changed is things like drain covers. But normally, if it's a street circuit, so like next week in Jeddah, that's super important because you need to look as a strategist about all of the entry and exit points. If a car stops on track, I know, okay, right, if the guys have only got to push that like 50 meters or like there's going to be like a red flag or a safety car, because there's no way they're going to be able to get the car out if it's stuck in that place. And then it's also kind of your only time where you've kind of got the drivers and they can't run away, or they can only run forward and backwards on the track. So you get kind of time to explain to them your game plan. So normally it will rotate. So race engineer will say, this is what we're going to do with the setup. Your performance engineer will say, this is what we're going to do with the tools on the buttons and the settings. Your tyre guy will say, this is what we want to do with the tyres. Your strategist will say, this is the plan for the weekend with how we're going to use the tyres and what we think for qualifying and what we think for the race.
And how many years in a row had you been doing this? Because this now you're not right now.
You should never ask a lady her age.
No, you're 21, I know that, but when did you start?
I'm 21. I first started working with Formula One in 2010, actually. I did my master's thesis with Charlie Whiting, who used to be the race director before he sadly passed away, with the FAA on the DRS zones when they were first brought in.
Wow.
Because, and you guys probably don't remember this, or you didn't watch Formula One at this point, they used to be like a free-for-all, so there was no zones. You could just DRS wherever you wanted to. Yeah.
Wow.
Wild, eh?
Can't they bring that back?
Even round a corner?
It was a different time, man. It was like a Western. But actually what this meant was that all the cars were setting up for qualifying because it was such an advantage. And then in the race, the DRS effect was actually really, really rubbish.
Okay.
So it was like a really good example where Lewis was stuck behind Seb in Valencia and he couldn't get past even though the DRS is open. So they were like, let's change the DRS zones. There was also an incident where Schumacher's wing got stuck open. So for safety reasons, they were like, let's make it just in zones so people can't go like kamikaze round corners with the DRS open. So my first job was like working with the FAA to simulate where those zones should be.
Sounds like Pitstop should have covered F1 about 15 years ago.
Well, you could watch it for the first time. You wouldn't know what's happening. It'd be amazing. You're like, Glock, he slipped. Oh my goodness.
We could watch a whole season and just do that.
I don't know why we haven't done that
If
yet.
Max wins every race this year, we'll just skip it, go back to 2010.
Yeah.
Max is going to win every race this year. Everyone has told us he is.
Yeah, what's your prediction?
I think Max will win again.
Yeah?
Yeah. Looking at what happened in testing and looking at his pace advantage over other teams and even his teammate, as I think most people expected, because this year's regs are an evolution, not a revolution year. So they're pretty similar to what we had last year. The only real change is the roll hoop. So my friend Joe had an
What's that, the halo?
Yeah, the bit that's like structural in the chassis above it. So the bit that's behind the driver.
The battery on the Williams.
It's close to that.
Thanks.
Google it later. So it's basically the bit that protects the driver if they are rolling. They have changed the rules around that to make it safer after there was a big crash in Silverstone a couple of years ago. But other than that, pretty much the cars are exactly the same. So Red Bull, everyone saw them stop developing, stop bringing upgrades for last year's car. They called it, had it in the pocket, and then they've been developing this year's car since then, which is why other teams are able to get close towards the end of last year. So it's what you normally do. Taylor's oldest time is you stop developing when you think you got the win, or you're doomed, basically. So if you know you've you're stuck in one place. So given the advantage they had and how much time they put, I don't think many people were surprised that they still look like the fastest car.
Do you think that will follow all the way through to 2026 then?
At the moment, it looks like that, to be honest. But again, you know, we don't have the final regs for 2025. There could be a change. Like, I mean...
Who decides these regs? Is there just a couple of people?
The FAA. So the people that...
Is that like a big group?
Ross Brawn.
Like
they're
one
FIFA.
person? Okay, yeah. But there will be one person at the top that will go yes or no, really.
I think, let's just say, it's a conglomerate.
So whoever that person is needs to change it now. Quickly change it right before the first race.
Well, the cars are getting smaller in 26, aren't they?
Yeah, 26 is a big year change. We've got different like power unit. We've got different, like a big change in the regs. So a bit like, you know, when we had 2014, there was like 2017. Every now and again, you get these like huge, big change years. And then that is a good opportunity to like really shake it up. But they can bring in regulations that, you know, if you remember with Mercedes, and they brought some regulation changes after the really dominant years that they had, that were kind of specifically targeting areas that they were really good at, that brought them closer to Red Bull and kind of gave us that 2021 season.
To take it back to like a race weekend, come race day, what's going on the most in your head? What are you thinking about the most?
So first off, you're usually pretty happy because you do the job for race day. That's like your game day. Like the only reason you're like away from your family for like hundreds of days a year and you do hundreds of flights is to be there on race day as a strategist. So first off, if you don't see pressure as a privilege, it's probably like not the job for you. It would be like, you know, Messi like walking around pacing before he went out playing football. So usually you're pretty looking forward to it. You've hopefully stayed up late working out what your game plan is. So you've woken up in the morning and you have a game plan for your two cars. They could be the same, they could be different depending on the race weekend. You're usually checking the weather. So that's the first thing you do when you wake up, is check that the weather hasn't changed. You know, you've kind of often, if you have a threat of rain, you like the first thing you do is like, all right, cool, like, or the vice versa, depending on what you wanted.
Does that shit you up if you look out and you see that black cloud and you're just like, oh,
it's worse actually, because you always have to prepare. Even if you know it's gonna rain, like it's gonna rain, you have to prepare a completely dry race just in case. And it is like, you just know you've spent, like, you've worked all night till like 4 a.m. in the morning, and you wake up and it is inevitably raining, and you have to like rip it up basically, and you have to go and do a race presentation and it's raining outside and it's clearly going to be raining, but you have to be ready just in case. You have to go through the dry race plan just in case something's changed, and everyone's like, it's raining. You're like, yes, I know it's raining, but we have to be ready just in case. So it's the other way around that's more annoying. Strategists generally love wet races because it gives us an opportunity to make more of a difference, a bit like most drivers.
For sure, yeah.
Love wet races. So
one thing I know about you is that, because we've spoken quite a lot over the last couple of years, and you'll be texting me and you'll be like, oh, I'm in like a post-race meeting. I'm going to be here till like 3 a.m. That's mental, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think normally when I message you, it's like when I'm waiting for simulations on a Saturday night. So like normally you're working pretty late on the Saturday night or the night before the race.
And what is that? You're just watching a computer and it's just simulating laps of a track?
Various different sims. So teams have different ways of creating lots of different races so that you can look for patterns. You can try and understand what are the key things you really need to focus on the next race. So like if you were trying to look at every single thing that could possibly change what your strategy is, basically the car will have gone past like 3 times by the time you've checked everything. So strategists try and work out what's the big driving factor. Now sometimes we know this. So Bahrain, degradation. So you're not really ever going to run to the end of a tyre life in Bahrain because you'd be going so slowly. You'd be like overtaken by like, you know, the slowest car on the track. So at Bahrain, the crossover, so what makes it a 1-stop or a 2-stop or a 2-stop or a 3-stop, or it used to be a race where it could be a 2, 3 and a 4 and you'd have cars doing all different types, is how much degradation you get. So you're normally working out what is your like crossover point. So if I see a deg more than 0.1, so like more than a tenth a lap on that tyre, I know my 2-stop is perfect. Or if it goes up to this point, now it's a 3-stop. Then you've got to factor in safety cars, because the thing about Bahrain, we had a VSC last year, which is a little bit different. So a VSC is like if I let you go through like a fast track lane. So you do a VSC and around Bahrain, pit stop's 24 seconds. A VSC is about 10 seconds quicker because you're going the same pace. Like you've stopped for a petrol station, but instead of a motorway, they're in traffic around the outside. So like you're coming out relatively better off than you did if you were like racing someone that was just going flat out on a motorway. So that's why it's less under a VSC or a safety car, because they're going slower around the outside. But then a safety car, imagine you've got like 2 seconds of degradation on your tyre. Now the overtaking value, so the amount of oomph you need to pass someone is about 1 second. So if there's a safety car and you stay out thinking, this is mint, this is Fab's race, I'm going to win this. Everyone comes into the pit stop, you're like, this is it, this is my moment. Everyone will overtake you because you'll probably be carrying about 2 seconds of deg on the tyres, and they will all just munch through you. So that's why the 2021 race, everyone was driving for a 2-stop. except the Red Bulls had some free air and they were playing around, and it was like a 2/3. There was a safety car, and pretty much everybody that had a gap piled in, because otherwise you just get overtaken by other people.
How can you see how much deg there is? Is the driver telling you that, or can you see that?
Magic. So
Magic.
You look at, you make an estimate of how fast the car would be if it put the fastest tyre on. It was brand spanking new, based on a lot of things, a lot of history and some modelling. And then you look at how much slower it is going 10 laps into a stint, for example, based on where it was at the beginning, minus the fuel effect. So the car's getting lighter, but the tyre's getting worse. So somewhere like Bahrain, for example, at home, you can work out the I think you can do it. You can work out the degradation.
Quite good at maths.
I heard. You can work out the degradation.
Who told you that?
Word's got around the paddock that Jake's good at times tables, mate.
Everyone's been chatting about it.
So the deg normally is about 1/10 or more. So like 0.15 is not crazy around there. But the fuel effect is 0.05. So that's why everyone in the paddock's like, ooh, that Max Verstappen stint was so good. Because the lap times were flat, which means the deg was about 0.05, because that's how much you lose every lap on fuel. So the car is getting quicker and the tyres are only degging by about 0.05. So in Bahrain, what you see after the first couple of laps, all the lap times get slower and slower and slower until you pit stop, and then they get faster again.
Reminds me of being back in school a little bit. I remember like my teacher would like tell me all this like really important information, and my brain just seizes up. It's just
Sorry, it's on video, but you can watch it back.
Fab, you can't handle this. You physically can't handle all these numbers.
We'll do a race live at one point. You two can race each other.
Do that. When you're doing a strategy like race day, how much do you think is stuck to from what you like pre-planned compared to going off what other drivers do?
It really depends. So there's some races where you have to stick to your guns, and if someone goes and they're trying to get you into the pits to do like an extra stop, or you think they've gone too early, and then at the end of the race they're gonna like basically have to pay back like credit card debt or do another stop, you let them go. If you think that you are right, you can just focus on your race. There are some tracks and there's some places where actually if everybody does the wrong thing, you also have to do the wrong thing, otherwise you get completely stuffed. So even if you were planning to do like a 1-stop race, if all the cars around you are doing a 2-stop race, that could actually make it a 2-stop for you, because you basically be like the idiot getting overtaken by everybody. And what you gain by doing something faster, you more than lose by being kind of like overtaken by everybody and traffic patterns. So there's a bit of detail in the nature of the track. So some places it doesn't matter at all. Monaco, you just do your own thing. Like, in fact, you can even get your mate to help you. So you can get your friend to back up other people and you can just do whatever you want. And then we're going back to China this year for the first time since COVID. And that last time we were there, all the leaders, they were like doing one strategy. And then in the midfield pack, Daniel was trying to do like one fewer stop, which was actually faster on paper, but because everybody else was going into a 2-stop, he got completely screwed.
Wow.
So yeah.
You said when you came here, you were with Seb Vettel for his first ever win.
Yes, I was.
That's pretty crazy. What was that like? And what's he like?
Is he as lovely as he seems on the TV?
He's so lovely. He's one of the nicest human beings ever. Like really genuinely nice person. But to be fair, most of the drivers are. But yeah, that was all the ones I've met are lovely. It was amazing. There was kind of, at the end of Ferrari 2014, a lot of people were invited to leave the team. So there was some people joining the team. So the previous head of strategy, Inaki Rueda, was joining the team for the 3rd race. So like there was 2 races where like I was left holding the strategy baby. In fact, there was another guy they offered it to, and he was way more sensible than me and was like, I don't want that. And so I was like, I'll take it. First race, we got podium, which coming off the back of 2014, which was like a dark place to be in Ferrari because it was a winless season, which you don't want to be in a winless season. It's like a really bad thing. It like brings shame upon all of Italy. So getting a podium was a really good start. And then the next race was Malaysia, which we don't go to anymore, Sepang. And, you know, we were like the B team Like we were like, you know, not the kind of the cool guys at the track. We're like, you know, the losers back at the factory. And so this was our like one moment to shine. Like we knew the next race, like we were going to have the proper boss come in, and this was it. So we do all of our work, and we were like, I think it's a 2-stop, right? Cool. We do the presentation, all going okay, and then, you know, you go through safety car scenarios, and they're like, there's an early safety car. I think it pushes it to a 3-stop for kind of similar reasons we talked about before. Like, the degradation would push it to a 3-stop. And we were like, no, we think it's still a 2-stop. And then Ara Verbeni, who is the scariest man I've ever met in my life. And even when he was saying nice things, you were like terrified. He kind of said, okay, if I said I was gonna, like, you know, theoretically, like, you know, cut your head off if you were wrong, would you still say it was a 2-stop? I was like, yeah, you know, giving it the big eye out. And after this briefing, and Seb was like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, we've done the numbers. Like, it is a 2-stop with the evolution. It's a bit like Bahrain, really, like with the evolution in the track, it's going to be a 2-stop. After the meeting, we kind of like all sit there, and they were like, I was like, I think that went well. And everyone's like, what do you mean? That was like terrifying. And I was like, oh, guys, there's never been an early safety car in Sepang. Like, it's the chances of there being a safety car at that point in the race is so low. It doesn't matter. And the main thing is we all looked confident in that meeting with everybody there, so it's fine. Like, you know, and we've done it. So. And
was there a safety car?
There was a safety car. So the race starts, it's fine. So lap 1 safety car is a slightly different thing, but an early safety car is a real like swinging point of races. As you see, it can like throw the whole thing up. So there's this early safety car, and I press the intercom. And then, like, obviously I'm very young. I've never been a head of strategy at this point. It's my first time ever, like, you know, temporarily doing it, because there was no one else. And I like go to press it, and then like my mouth just doesn't like make any noise. It's like this. So then I think like people were like, you sounded so confident. I was like, because I overcompensate, because I then press it again and I go, stay out. And people were like, wow, okay, she really means it. Like, we're not going to come in, we're going to stick to the 2-stop. People were like, you're so confident. Mercedes pile into the pits. They convert to a 3-stop. We stay out on this 2-stop, and then spend the next like hour and a half, like just like, for a strategist, not watching the television much because I couldn't bear to watch it. And at the end of the day, we won. So we won the race. Let's go. We beat the mighty Mercedes kids. Back in the day, they used to win everything. It's not it's like beating Max Verstappen, okay?
That's so sick.
We beat them.
Cool.
And I got a lovely like sign print from Seb. Actually, when I left Ferrari to become a head of strategy at another team later, I got the big flag that they put out on Maranello, signed by everybody. So yeah, that's my leaving present, which is pretty cool one. Yep, I still have it.
Do you think that race as a particular like really helped your career?
Yeah, I think it really did. I think it was also just for me and for my confidence, and like, you know, it was to be part of a Ferrari race win, and especially, you know, to say that, like, you know, when I'm like 84, I can be like, you know, it's been 84 years and I won Seb's first race.
And your grandkids are going to be like, yeah, shut up, Nan.
Like, we've heard this story.
Nan's
why didn't you win any other ones?
She's talking crap.
But yeah, no, it was a really special moment for us and for the whole team. Like, it wasn't definitely just me. It was like a lot of people back at base, but it was like, yeah, one of those, like, you know, movies where like all the B team, like, you know, superheroes are like, yes, and we were like treated like gods for a week. So nice. Yeah, it was a cool day.
That's unreal.
What's your favourite race?
For me, I've always loved the American race. So Austin was always my favourite, and then probably last year got eclipsed by Vegas, because I've been wanting a Vegas Grand Prix since 2013, when Stefano Domenicali was still the team principal of Ferrari. We had a strategy working group and we had to come up with ideas for which races there should be, and I said Vegas.
So Vegas actually comes from you?
Me and Daniel Ricciardo. Yeah, so I was one of the things that I suggested. And when I saw Stefano in Vegas, I was like, do you remember that I suggested this? He was like, do I remember? You wouldn't shut up about Vegas. It was supposed to be a presentation where we were coming up with like a lot of different ideas, and it was like 40 minutes on Vegas. Because there used to be one in the car park of one of the hotels ages ago, and it's one of my favourite places to go because
Party.
The maths of poker is the same as the maths of strategy.
Really,
so
I love poker.
Back when I was
That's where you're loaded then?
Well, back when I was poor, I used to go there to make to kind of like supplement as my like side hustle during some of the holidays.
Wow.
So
Counting cards?
Just playing poker better than other people.
I bet you could count cards.
Like you can't really.
Not with poker, but blackjack.
You can't admit to counting cards.
You can't admit to counting
cards. No, we can
cards.
cover your maths. We can say yes.
Apparently Austin's a good night out as well.
Austin's lovely. Yeah, there's a great piano bar there.
Yeah, what's the name of the bar?
Pete's Piano Bar.
That's it, yeah.
Pete's Dueling Piano Bar.
Everyone goes there apparently.
On a Wednesday. That's the place to go
Right.
if you want to go see a lot of Formula One people sing badly.
Not really.
Yeah, food's really good in Austin as well. I think Miami was great as well this year. So I think it's nice to have like a rolling favourite. But yeah, for me last year would probably be Vegas was my favourite.
I imagine the people that you meet in Vegas at an F1 race, because we didn't go last year. We went to the launch the year before, but you must meet some amazing people.
Yeah, it was almost like an overwhelming number of celebrities. Like my race day was rather strange. So first it's a night race, and it's like a proper night race. Like it's not just like this dusk stuff we have in Bahrain. It is like our P2 session, because it was delayed, was like 2 a.m. till like 4 a.m.
And all the crowd had gone home.
Yeah. And so the race day for me, I went back from the track at about 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. In the morning after finishing work, and like, you know, I had some of my friends being like, come out, and I was like, guys, I'm literally doing my job. And there's nothing more humbling than walking back at 9 a.m. like in your work stuff in Vegas past like Wet Republic, which is one of the biggest like pool parties at like 9 a.m. You don't want to see that place at 9 a.m. And like through the casino, like people that are awake at 9 a.m. in Vegas. You know, generally it's an interesting side of society.
Yeah, we saw some. I think we were those two people.
Yeah, we were.
Well
when we were walking back, we were.
It gets freezing cold at night time as well in Vegas.
It wasn't too bad. People were just overreacting, I think.
I was seriously cold, and I think some bloke tried to pick me up. Genuinely.
I mean,
you got in a random bloke's car.
No, he tried to. I was staggering home, freezing cold, t-shirt on. I was probably covered in sweat as well. That's why it was
bring a jacket.
Colder. Well, yeah, you're in a club. We're in Omnia.
Ah, that's a nice one.
And then we're walking back, and this guy's like trying to get me in his car, and I'm like, bro, no.
So I go to bed. We wake up, go to the gym for a bit, because it's one of my like race day rituals. Is always do leg day on the race day, so you get out all your frustration. Because once you've done some legs, the pain of any race can't be as bad. Then I went to have breakfast with my friend, except my friend was running like a kind of a kick-off event with like Marshmallow and Tyre. So I had chicken tenders.
The DJ?
Yeah, the DJ.
Mad.
I don't know how many marshmallows you
know.
No,
Facts.
So I had breakfast, some chicken tenders for breakfast at this like thing, seeing like, you know, to support her event. Went into work. My friend Holly Ramsey invited me to go and have lunch with her dad, Gordon, which was lovely. Then we
was
went
at Hell's Kitchen?
It was like a pop-up in Vegas. It was like in the thing itself, which is amazing. You do all your meetings, then go onto the grid where there was
he's a pretty good cook, isn't he?
Amazing.
He's not bad. The beef welly's a bit, but apart from that, yeah,
like,
he's pretty
honestly,
good.
they're all just amazing, lovely people. And like it's one of those things that people do look at you slightly weird. So like we came out of qualifying, and we actually had quite a good qualifying, and like the two of them just happened to be walking past, and they're like, Ruth, gave me like a big hug, and I like looked around to one of the junior guys in my team, and he was like, how do you know Gordon Ramsay? Like, what's going on? That's a long story. But yeah, then the race day itself, like the grid there was just a silly number of celebrities.
So many,
and like we were trying to like walk back to my car to like check in with my drivers, check everything was okay. And like Usain Bolt was with the team for that event. I hadn't actually seen him at all. And like he gave me like a hug and was like, you got this. I was like, okay, I've got this.
Okay, you saying, yep, no worries.
Yeah, I had my friends, a couple of my friends like Shania and Olivia Pondon, who was like a Victoria's Secret model that was there as well, that came for the race. So like they were like loving it, and they were kind of sending me messages being like, this is amazing. And I was like, okay, I don't have time. I've got to go do the actual race. Yeah, then do the race itself, finish work about 3 a.m. And then, yeah, then kind of went out after that to try and stay awake in order to go straight onto the plane. So like kind of everybody went to bed about 10 a.m. the next day after going to see, like, I think it was Diplo play in Excess, which is, we had the same table that Travis and Taylor did after the Super Bowl.
That's all right. Fair enough.
That's mad, yeah. Wow. What a story.
I always find it fascinating how quick you guys fly out after races. Like, especially if it's like a double header, quite often you could just be flying out like really early Monday morning straight somewhere else.
But everyone flies home. You seem to just fly to a beach and spend like the next week just sunbathing and drinking and eating the best food I've ever seen in my life.
I don't think
she can count cards, mate.
I swear for the longest time you were just always on holiday.
I don't think so, but like I'm glad that you think so.
Well, it just seems like you just live such an amazing
life. You can't
life.
believe everything you see on Instagram.
Yeah.
Well, so what is it, a green screen then?
I did go to Singapore. I did stay out after Singapore because they kind of like with the flights they needed somebody to like kind of stay out an extra day. So yeah, and there's some places like where you have family, so you know you end up with quite a lot of annual leave really because you're working all the weekends basically compared to a normal Monday to Friday job. So I've got some good friends in Miami, so I stayed out after the race there, but that was a beach to
That's
be fair.
nice,
Yeah, that was a beach.
You work with Charles Leclerc as well?
Yes.
What's he like?
Amazing.
Because we filmed with him and we thought he was great. He was lovely.
Like one of the he's like my little brother. So as a strategist, like you kind of have to establish with drivers if you're like kind of like a sister or like a cool aunt.
Yeah.
And he once described me as like, he was like, oh yeah, you're kind of like a mum to me. And I was like, nope, not doing that. Cool sister.
You're only 21. How can you be mum?
Only 21. Yeah. So I was his strategist in 2018 when he had his first year in Formula One. Back with Alpha before we moved over to Ferrari, and we had some really fantastic races with him. So it was a really cool year. Also with Marcus as well. Yeah, it's interesting that don't believe everything you see on Netflix, because there was this episode in season 1 where they tried to make out like the two of them hated each other, and I've never seen a closer bromance. Like they would give you two like a run for their money. Like they adore each other. They love each other.
That's mad. He's a very genuine guy, actually.
Yeah,
Charles.
super genuine guy.
Kind of what you see is what you get. Is he's not different off camera. He's just,
no,
he's exactly.
The same. Yeah. He's a really nice person and fast. So let's see how he stacks up against another lovely and fast driver, Lewis, next year.
That's crazy.
What do you think about that? Because we were doing a Sky event yesterday, and we had like a load of people come on the pod, and we asked everyone the same question about like the Lewis and Ferrari thing. What do you think about that?
I think, I mean, I'm probably biased because I was at Ferrari and I've never been at Mercedes, so I don't know. And I think it's great for him. I think it's great for the sport, and I think it's a really exciting thing to see. Actually, no, I don't think many people know this. He nearly signed with them a long time ago. So before he got the Mercedes deal. There's a kind of a town called Modena, and there's this one kind of like bar that everybody, like kind of restauranty bar thing where everybody sits at.
Is that where Michael Schumacher used to get the pasta?
Maybe. No. I don't. Oh no, that's Fiorano, so that's near the track. But like Modena, where a lot of people live, which is the closest town. Right. Like he just sat there for like 4 hours, and like everybody lives really close in Ferrari, and people were like, is that Lewis Hamilton? And people were like, Lewis just sat there, like back when he was at McLaren. And we were like, yeah, I think it is Lewis. And then it was like 4 hours later, we're like, what's he doing? Like, is he going to leave? Like, he's like, he's just kind of sat there. So then obviously there was like rumours in the Italian press about him talking with Ferrari. So we thought it'd be a great idea. We had a cardboard cutout of him in the office. Why we did was another thing. And we put it in the window. Don't think anyone ever saw it. But it was up in the window in
That's
like the kind of
genius.
canteen, because there had all these cutouts, all these drivers. So we thought, oh, that would be
That's
hilarious
funny.
to like make it. But yeah, no, he did actually, like, he was definitely in talks with them. But this was before I joined. So this was a story from, before I joined, before he moved over to Mercedes. So I think maybe it's always been there. Maybe it's always been there.
Do you know what? It makes sense. You know, I feel like every single GOAT that's been in Formula One has driven for Ferrari at some point. Or if they haven't, they've wanted to. They've always wanted to be in a red. You know, Mercedes haven't been great the last couple of years. So, I mean, do you think Ferrari might have something that he knows about and we don't yet?
I think Ferrari is special. I think like when you go there and you kind of like feel that like there's like a magic juju in the air. I don't know how to describe it other than the fact that I was a lifelong McLaren fan. I only went to my interview at Ferrari to practice for my McLaren one, and because it was a free trip to Italy.
Wow.
And I had no intention of going and working for them. And it's like they were like the enemy, you know, full on.
Yeah.
And I went there and did the interview, and then they were like, right, you hungry? I was like, yeah, I'm always hungry.
Of course, yeah.
And so then they took me out for like lunch, like, you know, carbs are the way to my heart. Took me out for ice cream, like sugar high. Like they showed me parts of the factory, like that, you know, you'd never normally see as an interview candidate. And it was like just magical, like seeing the old race bays. And then I went straight from that to like old McLaren, not this cool, like, you know, Lando, like Zach, you know, Oscar McLaren, old school grey McLaren. And I went there and compared to kind of the Ferrari thing, I was like, oh.
They gave you like a ham and cheese sandwich.
Didn't even get
no
sandwich,
mayonnaise.
no carbs.
That's crazy.
And yeah, I remember I went directly from the Ferrari interview to the McLaren interview, and then I went straight back to my university, and all my friends were like, oh my goodness, like, how was it like McLaren? Like, you've worked your entire life to get to McLaren, like, you know, you're obsessed with this place. And I was like, I think I like Ferrari. And they're like, what? Like, it was like, you know, being like a lifelong Chelsea fan and coming out back and being like, okay, I'm going to play for Arsenal.
Yeah.
Like, it was tough. People were like, are you okay? It was pretty much my entire personality. I'm very glad that, like, you know, I was able to expunge most of my Facebook, because there's some really embarrassing Facebook statuses from like 2006 of like how much I love McLaren.
Oh, do you get reminded? Like, every week
on
comes
this
like
day you
10 years
tweeted,
ago.
yay,
I'm like,
McLaren won too. Yeah, so like, you know, I guess I had my own like Ferrari experience. The person that took it the toughest was my dad. It, like, you know, obviously I got a job in Formula One, which, you know, most parents would be there, but like, you know, to tell him that it was Ferrari, he was like, so the first season he said, go Alonso, because he'd practiced that with McLaren. It took him about a year before he could, like, you know, like really support Ferrari. I kept buying him more and more Ferrari stash, mostly to wind him up, and my mum would make him wear it, and he hated it.
Alonso, greatest driver on the grid.
He's your favourite, isn't he?
He is my favourite, yeah. For many reasons, you know. It's not just the glorious hair. It's not just his skin. He just did an interview with Aston Martin, and his skin's, you know, he's what, 42 now? Yeah. And he just looks impeccable. He looks better than he did 20 years ago.
Did you know Alonso's the reason I'm a strategist?
Go on.
So back in 2012, I was a simulation engineer. So I was writing simulations for like the simulator. Also, I have, you know, motion sickness. So that's a really bad place to be as a simulator engineer. Don't do that. That's a bad job.
You get the same, don't you?
Yeah, I can't even go on that.
Yeah, that would make me vom.
So well, it's going to be fun later then.
No, I literally can't.
Oh, do you have to?
I will throw up.
It's part of the Pitstop podcast.
I actually left my job and picked my career because I vomit on this. This is like a life.
We could bring you a bucket.
It's absolutely not happening. No, I absolutely hate it.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was simulation engineer, and I kept bugging my boss of being like, look, man, I'm losing weight. Like, I can't keep anything down. This is like, this is rough, man. Like, people were like, oh, you moved to Italy, you've lost weight. You're like, yeah, no, I don't mean to. Like, and so I was volunteering. I really love strategy. I did my project with strategy. And that, it was Austin 2012. It was the first year of Austin, hence I always love Austin. And the track was super dusty on one side of it, and I was doing some starts modeling at the time. And I'd was kind of part of the group that kind of looked at the start position changes, and we had to come third with Fernando to keep the Drivers' Championship alive that race. Otherwise, Seb was going to win. We qualified, and we were unfortunately P6. And Felipe Massa, the other driver, was P4. We came up with the idea of cutting the gearbox seal on our own car to put them both on the clean side of the grid, which...
What did you just say? What does that mean?
So
you cut your gearbox out?
Yeah, so no, just the seal. So if you cut the seal, you get a 3-place grid. Normally, you would only cut the seal to actually change the gearbox. But if you wanted to move your car backwards, to move another car forwards, you can just cut the gearbox seal and move backwards.
Stuff I'm on about, Ruth.
So we cut the gearbox seal, which actually puts both cars on the right side of the grid, promotes like Fernando's in front of Felipe, plus he's now on the good side of the grid. And at the start of the race, you can Google it on YouTube, literally it's like there's one side of the grid is like moving back and the other side of the grid is moving forward.
Oh my God,
and
wow.
Yeah, they came third, got like a nice cowboy Pirelli hat. And yeah, that was like one of the things that got me like an interview internally for like becoming a strategist, ironically on Felipe Massa's car. So that was a fun first combo.
So wait, were you with Massa when all that stuff happened?
No, this was like I was just volunteering. I wasn't like a strategist on a car. I was just about a part of the team of strategists. So yeah, we did that. So yeah, there was and then we had to put it in really late in case anyone copied us, because then we thought that would sound really bad. Like imagine if you'd like taken a 3-place grid penalty to change whether you're on the odd or the even, and then someone else does it. So now you're just like really far behind. But yeah, every now and again you get like, and they checked everything with the FAA. They said, you know, this is what we're planning on doing. Is this cool with you? And they were like, yeah, it's fine. It's within the rules. So like it was all above board.
Oh, it's all above board. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's all within the rules. It's just kind of reading around the rules, shall we say, to come up with.
But was that put out to the press at the time? I mean, would anyone know that's the reason why you had the penalty?
I think a couple of people on Twitter worked it out at the time, and I think the team put out like a statement saying, you know, like Felipe is a really good sport, and like, you know, he's like, you know, he took one for the team, literally, like gave up like 3-place positions to help Fernando. So it was a good bit of teamwork. Wow. So it wasn't like a secret, but it was a good bit of starts. Performance strategy.
So what other stuff can you do like that as a strategist, or you know, what kind of sneaky things can you do like that to gain an advantage?
There's loads, but if I told you, I'd have to kill you.
I mean, I've had a good life. I don't mind.
Yeah, no, there's lots of things, like especially when you get a new regulation, you might come up with something. Then typically everybody can then do it afterwards. So there's quite a few you can get when you get a new regulation set, like Qatar this year. We were the only car that could box under a safety car on lap 3 with Valtteri because of what we'd done, what we'd chosen to do with the tyres previously during the race weekend, and the way they applied the rules. So there's things you can do. Last year in Bahrain, we pitted Joe for a fastest lap point, just to take it away from Alpine.
I remember.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that. Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, go on, Ruth.
Which was really mean. The problem was it really upset Pierre, who's one of my friends, and he's like the nicest guy ever. I had to like go and apologise to him. I was like, I'm sorry, like it's just racing. Yeah, he was he calmed down by the time I saw him the next race, but like he was understandably annoyed.
Yeah.
But yeah, you find these like loopholes, and other people find loopholes too, you know, like, so I think it's part of the fun, I think. You don't always get the opportunity to do them, but every now and again you do. And then every now and again you end up with the situation where like 19 cars do it and it's just Lewis on the grid that hasn't changed tyres, you know, and he's like the only one. So, you know, sometimes you know, everyone spotted it as well. So there's lots of different things you can do, but mostly it's just boring, not boring, but you know, less like tricks.
And when you came into the sport, there must have been like way less females.
Yeah, so I was the first ever British woman to work at Ferrari.
That's amazing.
So yeah, that was like and I've seen like a lot of change even in like my time in Formula One, just like the number of like, not just the number of women, but also like the demographic of fans, like even with like guys, like, you know, like, you know, you've got a lot more guys in there, like 20s or younger, you know, like the kind of 18 to 24 demographic, like it used to be. So there was a study that was done before Liberty Media took over, where the average Formula One fan was a 53-year-old white male that was a blue collar worker that lived in Coventry.
It was almost pretty much my dad.
And now we've got, like, you know, a much wider range of fans, which is great, because if you think like football and why the Premiership is so huge, is because it is advertising to everybody. And the fact that you've got like whole families going, it's 5 tickets rather than one guy that's going that's 1 ticket. So I think it's just going to get better.
Was it tough back then when you were like a bit more of a minority?
Yeah, I think a lot of people in Formula One would say, you know, it's still tough, and there's a lot of work to be done on like D&I, like, you know, Lewis, I think in his Mission 44, you know, there's still a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of really lovely people out there in motorsports. There's maybe some people that are, you know, not so lovely and maybe don't really take people, you know, on who they are rather than like, you know, what they can do. So I think it's a good road, good journey we're on.
And you've got an absolute rock on your finger there. I just wanted to talk about that. It's pretty much the only reason why I wanted to get you on it. I want you to show it off.
This is such a girly question.
Well, I mean...
Welcome to Pitstop.
Look at the size of it.
It says fake for anybody that's following me home.
Don't worry, it's going live tomorrow. It's absolutely ginormous. You're with... I think everyone knows you're with Nathan.
Yes.
Divey, who used to be...
Divey.
We've always called him Divey. We talk about him on the pod all the time.
He's annoyed by that.
Is it? I'm so sorry, Nathan.
Sorry, Nathan. Divey.
No, he's not. He's not the nice guy. Oh. He's annoyed.
Was he? What was he? #1 mechanic on Lewis's car?
Yeah. So
is that how you met?
Yes. Yeah. We met in Montreal one year.
So you were racing against him sometimes?
Would we say against? I think he was lapping me.
Yeah, fair.
There wasn't much kind of like, you know, romantic, like Mr. and Mrs. Smith like level of like rivalry. It wasn't like I was at Red Bull and he was at Mercedes in like 21. No, we never had any, there was never any rivalry. Alas.
I literally just wanted to talk about the ring. I just thought it was sick.
I'll give you the details later.
Yeah, I want to take a closer look, actually.
Please don't.
Well, I've said it before, but it's... Yeah, maybe we could pawn it. We're a bit broke.
Pawn it?
Yeah.
It's not our ring.
We can't play the rent. Do you mind?
Nathan,
do you mind?
I'm probably stronger than you. I reckon I could take you.
I reckon you probably are. Yeah. Who's your favourite driver on the current grid?
So drivers are like children that you cannot... like say who's your favorite child, otherwise, you know, you cause like years of therapy. Even if you like one child better than another, you should never say it. So I think most people won't say it unless they like, you know, are one of the drivers, and they'll say themselves.
Charles.
Is Charles Alonso's is your favorite?
Alonso's mine. I thought Charles might have been yours, but
it's different when you know them as humans. It's like, I was going to say, it's like choosing who your best friend is, but
I know who mine is.
Who's your second best friend?
Fab's my second best friend.
Yeah. Oh, wait, who's your first best friend?
See, this is why, kids, you don't answer the question.
See, we're not sharing a bed.
No comment.
Who's your favourite driver?
No comment. You can't mix work and friendship, mate.
Yeah.
We've been doing that for the last 2.5 years.
Yeah, we're in a relationship. What other teams?
Where's my ring?
Fab, you're not getting a ring.
So I was also at Haas for when they first started. So they joined the grid in 2016. We had Grosjean, who was driving for us, and Gutierrez, who both of them were lovely. Our first race actually was a good story. It was a one for the ages. So we were a new team, and like at this point, like new teams, you know, well, we haven't had one since, and like the previous few new teams that come in were like right at the back, like super far off the pace. So like no one was really expecting like that much like from us. We go to the first race, and it was Australia back in those days, like it'll be next year. And there was a lot to do, and there was not a lot of us because we were brand new. We were quite small. People were still joining the team. And to the point that like I didn't actually go home between qualifying and the race. So I stayed all night because I only had like when I finished I had like an hour before I had to come back in again. So I got all the like pit stop overalls, which hadn't been used, so they were new, and like just had like a little nap on the floor to try and get everything ready for the race. We then go to the race and I'm still trying to get everything ready, and like, you know, it's the first time I've used anything because you don't get like, you know, a race happen to practice with, it's not working. Like the pit wall where everybody gets all the numbers, I'm the only one on it and I'm supposed to get everything working, is black. There's nothing there. And I'm like trying to find the bug in the code. So I'm there like typing like crazy. Like it's like 10 minutes to go, like 8 minutes to go. And I'm like, we're doomed. Like it's my first race as a head of race strategy. And like, I got no numbers. Like we don't even have the TV. Like there's nothing connected. And I'm there like trying to find like the like problem in the system, like trying to talk to our RT guys, trying to work it out. And like the clock's ticking down. And then like it gets to the formation lap. And it's still not like working. It's completely black. There is absolutely nothing on these screens.
Was there comms between you and the driver?
No. So they're all on the grid, like trying to sort out, because they're already trying to get everything. Like everything's like, you know, trying to get it all going for the first time. So like no one's noticed. Also because there's very few of us. No one has noticed. In fact, no one really knows this happened in the team because of what happens next. So it goes green light and it is the formation lap. And I'm like, that's it. We're out. Like, can't do the race. Like we've got no numbers at all on the pit wall, and like I can see the cars coming through and everyone's running back to the pit wall, and I'm like, this is it, like it's over before it's begun. Aborted start. The Lord sent me an aborted start. Aborted start. So I get another 2 minutes and I'm like, okay, this is it. We're gonna find the bug, fix the bug. Because when we tested it in a different time zone. I can still remember the problem was, and like everything's like all comes through. So like their guides are running back from the grid, and like I'm there on the pit one. They're like, "Oh, is everything good?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine." Yeah. Literally, just like there was nothing there. And yeah, so then we do a good strategy. There was a safety car. And I thought it was going to be a red flag because of something I saw during the track walk, and the kind of the scale of the accident. So I stayed out and we went from the back all the way to P6. Whee. And the fun thing about that was all the guys, like, because they were so like busy building the car, because it was the first time we'd done it. We had a lot of new guys that had never been in Formula One before. They were all to me like, because it was like, oh, is it a one stop? Is it a two stop? And they were like, fewer stops, Ruth. Yeah. Like, let's do like fewer stops. Like, you know, it wasn't like, you know, people like Cal that like, you know, give me the stops, man, I want to show, like, get me a world like record. So they're like, fewer stops. And then we had a DNF with one car. So Gutierrez was in the crash with Fernando that caused the red flag. And then we changed tyres in the red flag. So we had no stops. So at the end of the race, like you can still see like the footage, all the boys are chanting and they were like, no stops. Because they didn't actually have to do any pit stops, because they'd, a lot of them hadn't ever done a pit stop before. So yeah. And then next week in Bahrain, we did more stops than anyone else and we got to P5 by doing an extra stop. So they'd had like, I said we carried it over from Australia.
It's crazy what you said there about you saw that there would be a red flag. So that was from a track walk. You saw something that you thought would create a red flag. Yeah. How often does that happen? Like, because I know you like street tracks change more, but can you quite often see something and be like, you know what, that's changed quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of like what you do as a strategist. Is it's your job to like look at potential like problems. Like, you know, sometimes you can go like chat to the marshals and be like, you fancy pushing that all the way along there? And they're like, no way can I get that out, mate. Like, so like sometimes it's easy. Yeah, sometimes just like with the layout of it, it's very clear that like if a car stops, it's going to be a safety car because of just like there's physically no way to get to the car. Like Baku's a really good example. So the castle section in Baku, like if there's ever a pile up, like more than one car there, it would always have to be a red flag, because they'd have to like pull them out manually, like one after another. So there's obvious ones like that. And it is, you know, subjective. And obviously we were further back, so it's easier for us to make a call than for someone that's leading the race because we were giving up less. But, you know, it was still a good strategy. So
There's going to be a lot of people listening to this that are going to think, wow, you've had an amazing career, done amazing things. I'm sure there's so much more to come. But what advice would you give to people watching that want to go in to potentially do what you've done, or become a strategist, or even get into Formula One?
So there's no like strategy school. So first off, a bit like, I guess there's no like school for what you guys do. Yeah. So it's about kind of learning skills that you need in order to do the job, rather than like actually going to like a course for it. So trying to do like a mathematical degree, like making sure before then you're doing your maths in like A levels and physics, applied sciences. Some people come through for like a computer science route, but basically you want to get like the best degree you can possible in a mathsy, sciencey subject. And then I did Formula Student, which is where you build like a little race car and you race against other universities. Mine was very bad.
And you still got the job, so there you go. It doesn't matter if you come last.
We were like a Hesketh without the one win. We were like, everyone saw us and thought, Cambridge, eh? There's like a big, and then we'd like bring out this like rusting thing because we didn't have any extra budget, and all these European teams had like Delft, they were a Dutch team, and they had like their own like trucks, and then there was one called like TU Graz that was sponsored by actual Red Bull, and we had like we like put our pocket money together to buy like some things to weld in the middle of the night. But we do have people now in all 10 Formula One teams and all of the engine suppliers. So
oh man,
it's got a good, yeah, the car was rubbish, but the history and the legacy lives on. But yeah, so something like that, or like kind of volunteering on weekends, just to kind of, you know, one, show you're keen, and also to learn a little bit about motorsport. There's lots of like grassroots motorsport where they're always looking for things, like marshalling's a good one as well. But yeah, maths is the most important, and getting a good degree.
11 times 11.
What are you doing? 11 times 11?
Yeah, I was quizzing you.
Oh, okay.
It's taking a while to answer here, Ruth.
I didn't understand what it was about.
No, it was a quiz, a question.
You're so weird.
But it's 121, right?
Yes, 121. But I'm so confused as to why you do like a quick fire round of like.
Should we do a quick fire maths test?
Absolutely
I don't think
not.
that viewers want a quick fire maths
I got a
test.
C. I got B in maths. Got to be a maths. So could I be a strategist?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
You could be one on the game.
Yeah. Well, if you had to put me and Jake as part of an F1 team, where would you stick us?
Social media.
I think he would be great as the guy who chips the stuff out of the tyres after a race.
They're not in the Formula One team. They work for Pirelli. So they are scrubbing the tyres to work out how much you've worn down.
Formerly Dunlop.
Bridgestone, Michelin.
Yeah, well, it was never Dunlop.
I think maybe, but like years and years ago.
I thought Dunlop was tennis balls.
Yeah. Anyway, it wasn't recently. Put it that way.
Right. Okay.
Tyre Wars was Michelin versus like Bridgestone. So and then we just had Bridgestones that were really like rock hard. So you were able to do like a whole race on them and like pit on the last lap. And then in 2011 we brought in these Pirelli tyres that we have. We used to just have 2. We used to have like a prime and an option, and now we have 3, like a soft, a medium, and a hard each race weekend.
Favorite F1 race ever?
Not that I've done.
No, or maybe, but like just in general. So mine, for me, I don't know. Fuck knows. But like, yeah. So like throughout history, you know.
Throughout history.
Yeah.
Silverstone, 1998. Strategy Masterclass by Mr. Ross Brawn at Ferrari.
Do you know him? But before we go into it, do you know him personally?
I do, and the first time he sent me an email, I printed it out because it was one of the greatest moments of my life.
That's amazing. We've been trying to get. We haven't been trying, but we would love Ross Brawn on the podcast.
I cannot imagine Ross Brawn here, but
I couldn't imagine anyone from F1 here, to be honest. When we first started,
but you've done it, so yeah. Strategy Masterclass. And the cool thing about Silverstone, which is still true to this day, is that the timing line in the pits is physically before the timing line out on the track. So with the old the old pit straight. So when you do the like, well, it's called the national pit straight now. So it moved in, we now will use the F1, the new F1 pit lane is different, but the F1 pit lane that's on the other side, the F2 sit in, where you were you were rain spotting from, that's the one. Right. So there, the timing line comes before the one on track, which means that if you were racing yourself, so you left the track and you went for a pit stop, you would finish your lap before, even though you're going slower, because it's so much sooner than if you stayed out on track. Now,
but even though you hit the pit limiter and you
because it's so early, so like physically just the white line is like massively sooner, and then the one on the straight is further down. Basically the scene is set. Ferrari, are they going to win the race? We're not sure. Schumacher's got a penalty. No.
I know about this.
Oh no, he's got a penalty. It's all over. And everyone's thinking, he's not served the penalty yet. It's all over. Like, this guy's never going to win. Because, like, you know, if he does the penalty, he's going to lose the race. Enter Mr. Ross Brawn. And he pits the car on the last lap of the race. Last lap of the race. Crosses the timing line. Finishes the race. Pulls into the Ferrari pit garage. Pays the penalty, which is legal. So they win the race.
How was that? I would think it would be the other way round.
Loopholes. So this is there, and then they changed the rules after that. So basically,
and that's just the genius of Ross Brawn.
Yeah. So you kind of, like, every time they bring in something new like this, you know, you kind of, when they first brought in VSCs, there was a weird quirk on some of the tracks where if there was a VSC, you could actually be like quicker if you did, like, you effectively gave yourself like a drive-through penalty. So there was a lot of, like, whenever you have new things like this, but I think that's a great strategy one. And then what's really cool is, like, as strategists, you don't want to be like a one-trick pony. You know, you want like a whole field of ponies. Then
love a field of ponies.
Love a field of ponies.
I'd love one pony.
And the next week in Budapest, in Hungaroring, which is like tight tracks, everyone's always like, right, you want to do fewer stops in Budapest, and like the you know, just having track position is really important. Oh no, enter Mr. Ross Brawn. They're like, nah, he's never going to win the race. They're never going to win the race. And what did they say? He says, right, you need to do like a stint worth of qualifying laps, and we're going to add an extra stop. Crazy. So he does the exact opposite of what everyone else is thinking. So everyone else is trying to make like one stop less. He does, like, bashes in like 23 laps, I think it was, like massively fast, stops again, overcuts everybody, wins a race. Wow. Back to back.
What
legend.
What a beast.
I've got his book there. I need to read it then.
Yeah. Do you have his number?
No, I have his email though.
Oh. Can we get that?
No.
Worth an ask. We should probably bring the episode to the end.
Yeah. Ruth, so good to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
It's been a minute. When did we last see you? Was it Qatar?
I think so, yeah. Qatar, which was a good race. You were a good omen.
Yeah, Oscar won the sprint. We were happy with that.
Yeah, we got double points. So we got points. No, we got points for one car. But it was a good race.
Yeah.
Hot.
Yeah, it was mad hot.
Yeah, really, really.
I don't know how the drivers do it, to be fair.
Our drivers were okay, so yeah.
Good cooling.
Yeah, good cooling. Yeah, I think I wouldn't want to be in a black race suit in that one. I think that would have been.
You were wearing grey, black at the time. You had a skirt on though, bit of draft.
Yeah, it was very, very, like, I felt really faint at the end of that one, actually. I had to have like...
because you're just in the two pit stop boys and you were like, oh.
I just had to have a load of electrolytes at the end of the race. Yeah. Have a little sit down, like, before I was able to help with the backup. So.
Those little electrolyte tablets that you can get are like save you from a hangover.
I mean, it's a dry country, so I don't think many people had a hangover in Qatar.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah, we weren't even drinking there. Ruth, thank you very much for joining us on Pit Stop. We finally got it done. Yay. 2 years later.
Thank you.
We'll have to get you back for a tour at some point.
Tour.
Let's see
a
where
double stop.
A double header. Yeah, let's see where your career takes you from here, and then, you know, maybe we've got something more to talk about in a few years' time from now.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everyone's been warning you on. We've had many requests. Massive thank you to everyone watching. We hit 90,000 subscribers, so we'll give that a clap. On the road to 100, so please hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment down below, and yeah, if you're listening, click the follow button, rate it 5 stars, and we'll see you guys soon. Goodbye. Thank you, Ruth.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pitstop.
Thank you, Ruth. Goodbye. Thank you for the stories.
Bye.
Bye.